Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Dear students, welcome you all to the Industrial Pharmacy theory class. Today is our 5th class, and now we are in the third week of the online classes. The title of today's topic is Pharmaceutical Suspension, General Introduction, Classification and Formulation. In today's lecture, we will start from the general introduction of pharmaceutical suspension. In the previous 2 weeks, we have studied about the pharmaceutical emulsion. Classification of pharmaceutical emulsion, formulation and various equipment used for pharmaceutical emulsion, as well as the stability of the pharmaceutical emulsion. In this week, we will start from the introduction of the new chapter, that is pharmaceutical suspension or suspension in our syllabus. We will focus on pharmaceutical suspension, general introduction, classification and formulation. The main objectives of today's topic is to learn about the introduction overview of the pharmaceutical suspension, pharmaceutical applications of pharmaceutical suspension, as well as the formulation of pharmaceutical suspension. After the completion of today's lecture, dear students, you will be able to learn about the pharmaceutical suspension, general introduction, that what is pharmaceutical suspension, along with the example, classification of pharmaceutical suspension on various bases, as we have classified in the previous chapter the pharmaceutical emulsion. We have classified on different bases. In this chapter we will also focus on various classes, that is the main classification of the pharmaceutical suspension, and finally we will discuss the formulation, the various formulation details that is utilized in the pharmaceutical suspension, and that is of prime importance while fabricating, that is the formulating of the pharmaceutical suspension as a dosage form. Before going to discuss one by one, first we will define pharmaceutical suspension. As you know that it is a dispersed system in which the internal phase is dispersed uniformly as finely divided insoluble particles throughout the external phase or liquid medium or suitable vehicle. We have defined pharmaceutical emulsion in the previous lectures that is also a dispersed system, but the difference between the two is in the pharmaceutical suspension the internal phase is dispersed, or the drug is dispersed uniformly as finely divided insoluble particles. It is necessary that the particles are insoluble. Insolubility is the characteristic for the pharmaceutical suspension. If it is soluble, definitely it will form solution. Hence it is insoluble, and to make in the form of suitable dosage form, the solution is to make it distributed or dispersed in uniformly as finely divided insoluble particles in a suitable vehicle or throughout the external phase. Some of the examples of the pharmaceutical suspension include, we have a wide variety of examples, but in routine life we can from paracetamol suspension that is available in the marketed name as a Panadol for oral use, ibuprofen suspension that is trade name as Brufen for oral use, and you can see Azomax that is azithromycin available for the orally dosage form in the form of the oral suspension. Azomax, that is the name of the trade name of the suspension available, which contains azithromycin 200 mg for 5 ml. How we will calculate the dose if we are interested to get the 100 mg? You can see on the label that 200 mg for 5 ml, and I am desirous to take 100 mg. If I divide the 200 by 2, then it will become 100 mg. So the 5 ml will be also divided on 2, and we should take 2.5 ml in order to take the accurate dose of the 100 mg. First we should consult on the label claim that what is the dose, and from that dose we can calculate the exact amount we should take for administration. Sometimes it is prescribed available in the form of, it is also in the form of the injectable, it is also in the form of the DS, that is dry suspension, in the form of dry, and the solvent is also available sometimes, and sometimes it is suggested that the drug should be dispersed in the water, and the water is boiled. In our daily life we can experience that the water is boiled and then cooled, and after the cooling the mark that is on the bottle, the markup and the volume is make up after the cooling the water, and it is reconstituted, and some instructions are also there available on the label as well as on the bottle, that shake well before use, and use within 2 weeks, or use within 1 week, or use within 3 weeks after the reconstitution. It is available in the form of dry dosage form or dry suspension form, because once it is reconstituted, then its stability just for 14 days is prescribed on the label, or just for 21 days is prescribed on the label, or 1 month or whatever the time they have mentioned on the label. That's why we never ever prescribe in the liquid dosage form, that is constituted dosage form, rather than the constituted, because after constitution its stability will be just 21 days or 14 days or 7 days. That's why it is in the form of the dry suspension. After the reconstitution it is available for the patient to take the dose. A general overview of the classification of suspension. There are different classes, bases on which we can classify the pharmaceutical suspension. For your information, there are three main types on the basis of which we can classify pharmaceutical suspension. The first one is general classification. Generally, that is oral suspension, either externally applied suspension or parenteral suspension. Orally suspension, for example, antibiotic suspension, just I have told you earlier, that is the Azomax, that is also azithromycin, is an antibiotic that is available in the dry form, that is for oral purpose, orally administered suspension. And paracetamol suspension, that is the liquid suspension orally taken, and it is also available in the market on the trade name, different names, for example Panadol suspension, which is taken orally. That is the first class on the journal, that is the oral suspension. The second type of suspension, that is externally applied suspension. For example, calamine lotion. These are externally applied rather than the orally taken suspension, and calamine lotion is one of the examples that is externally applied suspension. In general, we can classify a subclass, that is the parenteral suspension. It is parenterally given, for example, Feocan, penicillin G, that is in the form of injectables, and that's why we say that it is a parenteral suspension. In general classification, three subclasses are there. The first one is oral suspension, the second one is externally applied suspension, and the third one is parenteral suspension. Oral suspension include, example, antibiotic suspension as well as paracetamol suspension. While in the second one, that is externally applied suspension, that is externally applied rather than the oral or injectable, that is calamine lotion. And the third subclass in the journal, that is parenteral suspension. Example include cocaine, penicillin G. The second class, that is based on classification, that is based on proportion of solid particle. Either the solid particle are more or less. There is a limit for this proportion of solid particle. On the basis of that proportion of solid particle, we can classify pharmaceutical suspension into two types. The first one is diluted suspension, and the second one is, that is, the first one is diluted suspension, and the second one is concentrated suspension. In diluted suspension, the solid contents are proportion of solid particles, that is in the range of 2 to 10% weight by volume solid. Okay, I say that it is 2%. It means that I have to take 2 gram and should be dissolved in the 100 ml. Or to reconstitute the 100 ml, I have to disperse that is 2 gram, that is 2%, and the 10% means that I have to disperse 10 gram in the 100 ml. Diluted suspension ranges from 2 to 10%. If the solid content in the range of 2 to 10% weight by volume solid contents are there, then it is termed as diluted suspension. Example include cortisone acetate suspension, that is example of the diluted suspension. The second class of this type classification, that is based on this proportion of solid content, that is concentrated suspension. Concentrated suspension contain about 50% of by weight by volume solid particle. For example, zinc oxide suspension that contain 50% or more than 50%, approximately 50% solid content, that is 50% weight by volume. The third class of the classification, that is based on the electrokinetic nature of solid particles, either the deflocculated suspension and flocculated suspension are the classes of suspension that is based on electrokinetic nature of solid particle. Either the loose aggregate will be formed or it will form the tight or packed particles, aggregates. This is a little bit about the classification that we have classified on three various bases. The first one is general one, the second is based on proportion of solid particles, and the third class of the classification, that is based on the electrokinetic nature of solid particle. The next is applications or pharmaceutical application of suspension, or it may be entitled as importance of pharmaceutical suspension, or why we study pharmaceutical suspension, or significance of pharmaceutical suspension. The first one is pharmaceutical suspension is applicable for drug which is insoluble or poorly soluble drug. For example, prednisolone. Prednisolone is a drug that is insoluble, and another drug that is aceclofenac. Aceclofenac is another example of the poorly soluble drug. So hence it is applicable to be delivered a drug in the form of pharmaceutical suspension as a dosage form because of the poor solubility. A condition for the pharmaceutical suspension development is essential because of the insolubility or the poor solubility of different drugs, for example prednisolone, and the second example I have told you, that is aceclofenac. Aceclofenac is also just like the diclofenac, but it is much more better in efficacy, and the side effects are very low as compared to the diclofenac. The main side effect of the diclofenac is that diclofenac is GIT disturbances. That is the main side effects of the diclofenac, and in the aceclofenac these disturbances, that is the GIT disturbances or GIT, that is the gastrointestinal tract irritation, is lowered as compared to the diclofenac. The second application is that pharmaceutical suspension prevent degradation of drug or to improve stability of drug. For example, oxytetracycline suspension. If we provide this drug, that is the oxytetracycline, in the form of suspension, the degradation of the drug will be prevented, hence the stability will be improved. The third application is to mark the unpleasant taste of better or better test drug, for example chloramphenicol permitted suspension. In the form of suspension, the chloramphenicol permitted unpleasant test is masked and it is improved, and the patient acceptance in this case will be more as compared to in the other form. The fourth application of pharmaceutical suspension is that it can be formulated for topical or external application. For example, calamine lotion. This is the suspension formulated for the topical use. And the last one is when the drug is insoluble in the delivery vehicle. If it is soluble, the solution will be formulated. If it is not soluble, then to provide the delivery vehicle, the insoluble drug is provided in the form of pharmaceutical suspension. These are the some of the applications of pharmaceutical suspension. After that, in the last portion of this lecture, we will focus on the formulation of suspension. You know that there are different ingredients involved in every dosage form, that is active pharmaceutical ingredient as well as the excipients or additives or adjuvants are added in the limited quantity that is prescribed according to the pharmacopoeial limit or the other pharmaceutical manufacturing formulation units. The pharmaceutical excipient books recommend or the research recommend the limit. After that limit, we cannot exceed the limit because to ensure the stability, efficacy of the dosage form. The active pharmaceutical ingredient may be one or more than one of the ingredient, that is active pharmaceutical ingredient, that is in short titled as API. And API is that chemical or compound which is responsible for the therapeutic activity. If I say that I am going to prepare the paracetamol suspension, there are a number of ingredients in the formulation along with the paracetamol. Paracetamol is the active pharmaceutical ingredient, and along with that pharmaceutical ingredient, I will also add in the formulation wetting agent, suspending agent, if it is flocculating agent, viscosity promoters, buffers, sweeteners, flavoring agent, coloring agents, and preservative as well. The ingredients which are necessary for formulation of pharmaceutical suspension include active drug, it may be one or more, wetting agent in order to wet the solid particle, hence wetting is also required, suspending agent, that is essential parameters of prime importance in the formulation of the pharmaceutical suspension, because we are going to provide the drug in the suspended form because it is insoluble or poorly soluble, and it should be uniformly dispersed or suspended. Flocculating agent, if it is a flocculated suspension, viscosity promoter, to a certain extent there should be an extent of viscosity in the formulation, but the viscosity should not be enough to produce some problem in the pouring from the container. Buffers, which are responsible for pH stability to resist the change in pH. Sweeteners are there. Flavoring agents may be added in the formulation. Different flavors, we can see that banana flavor, strawberry, these are formulated for the pediatric patient in order to enhance the acceptability and compliance of the patient. Coloring agents are added to make it attractive, as well as preservatives are added in order to prolong the shelf life of the pharmaceutical suspension. Let's discuss it one by one. The active drug, which may be one or more. Remember that active pharmaceutical ingredients are added, which is prescribed as dosage. That what is the dose? According to that dose, we add the active pharmaceutical ingredient. If we say that 200 milligram is the dose, we will formulate the dosage form and will calculate according to that dosage, that is the dose, that is the amount of drug which is responsible for the therapeutic efficacy or activity of the active pharmaceutical ingredient. The second part, that is the wetting agent. There are different materials, that is hydrophilic materials which are easily wetted by water, and there are some materials which are not easily wetted by water, and these are termed as hydrophobic materials. The hydrophobic materials are easily wetted by non-polar liquid rather than the water. As name indicates that it is hydrophobic in nature. Hydro, that is for water, phobic, that is heating. The hydrophobic material are not easily wetted by water, they are easily wetted by non-polar liquid, because water is a polar, and the non-polar liquid will be responsible for the ease of wettability of the hydrophobic material. The extent of wetting by water is dependent on the hydrophilicity of the material. If it is hydrophilic, definitely it will be enhanced extent or increased extent of wetting by water. If the material is more hydrophilic, it exhibits less difficulty in wetting by water. The examples include, that is wetting agent polysorbate 80 and SLS, that is sodium lauryl sulfate. These are the example of wetting agents. And the wetting agent, I have told you whether the material will be hydrophilic, that is easily wetted by water, or the material will be hydrophobic nature material which is not easily wetted by water. In case of the hydrophobic material which are not easily wetted by water, it is recommended to wet it by the non-polar liquid, and the extent of wetting by the water depend upon the hydrophilicity. If it is more hydrophilic, it will tend to be wetted easily by the water. And at the end, I have told you the example polysorbate 80 and SLS, that is sodium lauryl sulfate. Polysorbate 80 is widely used wetting agent in the pharmaceutical suspension because it is inert material, its toxicities are very low, and most of the additives are compatible with the polysorbate 80, that is surfactants, and it is used as a wetting agent. The second one is, after the active pharmaceutical ingredients as well as the wetting agent, the third ingredient that is essential part in the formulation of the pharmaceutical suspension, that is suspending agents. It is selected on the basis of compatibility with the active pharmaceutical ingredient as well as with the rest of the additives or the exception. Suspending agents are also known as hydrophilic colloids, which form colloidal dispersion with water and increase the viscosity of continuous phase. They are termed as hydrophilic colloids because they form colloidal dispersion with water, and suspending agents are responsible for increasing the viscosity of continuous phase or the medium. If I add suspending agent in a particular formulation, I am going to increase the viscosity of the continuous phase as well as the colloidal dispersion with water will be occur. Suspending agent form film around particle and decrease interparticle attraction. The role of the suspending agent is that suspending agent will form a film, a layer around the particle, and the interparticle attraction will be decreased or lowered, and hence the aggregate formation will be not favored and the aggregate formation will be discouraged. The example of suspending agents include different types of gums and cellulose derivatives. For example, sodium CMC, that is sodium CMC stand for carboxymethylcellulose. Sodium carboxymethylcellulose, in short we can say that sodium CMC. And HPMC, that is hydroxypropyl methylcellulose. HPMC, that is also a cellulose derivative, and CMC or sodium CMC, these are also cellulose derivatives. CMC stand for carboxymethylcellulose and HPMC stand for hydroxypropyl methylcellulose. And the xanthan gum is also an example of the suspending agent. Another important ingredients in the formulation of pharmaceutical suspension, that is termed as flocculating agent. These are necessary for flocculated suspension in which no hard cake formation occurs. If we compare flocculated suspension and deflocculated suspension, in the flocculated suspension the loose aggregates will be formed and hard cake formation or sedimentation will not occur, and it is mandatory or necessary to add flocculating agent in the formulation to make it flocculated system, and the hard cake formation will be not occur. In this case, flocculating agents decreases the zeta potential of the suspended charged particles and thus causing aggregation, that is floc formation of the particle. The zeta potential of the suspended charged particle, you know that every particle will carry some charge, that is either positive or negative, and the focus of the flocculating agent is to decrease the zeta potential in this of the suspended charged particle and thus causing aggregation, that is the floc formation of the particle. For example, electrolytes such as potassium chloride, sodium chloride and surfactant. These are flocculating agents which are responsible for flocculated system maintenance in the formulation. Another essential ingredient for the stability and integrity of the pharmaceutical suspension, that is termed as buffers. These are the material, as you know that we have also studied that buffers in the pharmaceutical emulsion as well, because in every liquid dosage form it is mandatory to maintain the pH at a certain limit to make it stable, and you know that pH has vital role in the stability of the formulation. If the pH is increased or decreased beyond that limit which is specified for the stability, then the stability will be lost. Buffers are the material which will be dissolved in a solvent, will resist any change in pH and when an acid or base is added. To encounter stability problems, all liquid formulation should be formulated to an optimum pH. Optimum pH or optimal pH is that pH on which or at which the formulation are stable. That's necessary for the maximum stability, and that particular pH is termed as optimum pH. And one term that is optimum temperature. Optimum temperature means that is a particular temperature at which the formulation will be stable. Mostly used buffers are sorts of weak acids such as carbonates, citrates, gluconates, phosphates and tartrates. Remember that apart from the buffers that is used for the stability and to maintain the stable pH of the formulation, if we are working in the pharmaceutical industry, apart from the buffers, I am interested to increase the pH. If the pH is lowered and it is not within the limit, and I am interested in the increasing the pH, I will add sodium citrate for the increase of pH. If I say that the pH is 4 and I want to increase the pH to 6 or 7, I will add sodium citrate. That is the first condition, that we are interested to increase the pH of the liquid formulation. The second case, if the pH is already increased and I am interested in lowering pH of the formulation, if suppose I say that it is 7 or it is 6, and I am interested to make it up to 2 within the limit of 2 to 3, then I will add citric acid. Citric acid for the decreasing in pH of the formulation, and sodium citrate is for increasing in the pH of the formulation. That is extra point if you are a pharmaceutical industry pharmacist and you are working there in the liquid section, and someone told you that what is the solution for pH increase or pH decrease in the liquid formulation and how you will overcome. It will be good for you that if you answer that sodium citrate and citric acid is the solution. If we are interested to increase the pH, we will add sodium citrate. That is apart from the buffers. Buffer is something else. Buffers are the materials or the substances which we add or dissolve in the formulation of a solvent. Then it will resist any change in pH when an acid or base is added. It means that buffers are the material that will be responsible for the stability and the pH. No resistance will be shown if we lack any buffer. Buffer is necessary for making the stable pH. Another one, that is sweeteners. They are used for test masking of unpleasant drug particles. The example of the sweeteners are sugars. One class is sugar such as xylose, ribose, glucose, mannose. These are the different sugars which are added in the formulation for masking the unpleasant or better test drug particles. Artificial sweeteners are also added, which include sodium cyclamate, sodium saccharine, aspartame. Have you ever checked the tablets that are used for the diabetic patient? In the ordinary life they use in tea preparation, and aspartame is the ingredient that is used as sweetening agent and the different sweeteners and locally pharmaceutical industries as well as the multinational pharmaceutical industry preparing the tablets that containing the sweeteners, that is a different name of the sweeteners, and in that sweetener aspartame is the active pharmaceutical ingredient, that is artificial sweetener. Flavoring agents are also added in the pharmaceutical industry in the formulation of pharmaceutical suspension, and the aim is to increase patient acceptance, and the patient will accept if it is good flavor. And one of the sweetening agents that is already discussed in the previous, that is the sweetening agents or sweeteners used, and flavoring agent, that is something else, that only sweetening agents are not capable of complete taste masking of unpleasant drugs. In this case, flavoring agents are incorporated. In this case, flavoring agents are incorporated in the formulation to make it more pleasant, and the patient acceptance will be increased. Example of the flavoring agents are anise oil, spearmint oil, and different other flavoring agents are there. But these are the two examples which are used to increase the patient acceptability in the formulation. Coloring agents are also added, and mostly colors are obtained from natural and maybe synthetic sources. Color adds an identification of the product, and the products are identified by using different colors, and most widely used colors are titanium dioxide, that is white colored, amaranth, that is red color, and tetrarazine, that is yellow color. These are different colors widely used in the formulation of pharmaceutical suspension. Finally, the preservatives are added in the formulation that is naturally occurring suspending agents such as tragacanth, acacia, xanthan gum are susceptible to microbial contamination. The microbial growth in these ingredients, like the tragacanth, gum acacia, xanthan gum, the chances of contamination by the microbial attack are more because of these naturally occurring suspending agent. It is widely used in the formulation of pharmaceutical suspension, and this microbial contamination ultimately leads to the first loss in suspending activity of suspending agent. We will use suspending agent, but the activity, the role of suspending agent will be lost. The second reason behind this microbial contamination, that is the result. The results will be loss of color. The color will be lost because of this microbial contamination. The flavor will be lost. Either the odor may be lost due to the microbial contamination, and change in elegation or elegance, that is the appearance, will be also changed. These are the three reasons due to which we focus on preservatives to be added in the formulation to prevent either the loss in suspending agent activity or the loss of color, flavor and odor, and change in the elegancy of the formulation. The example of preservatives are PG, that is propylene glycol, that is almost used in the 5 to 10% concentration. Disodium EDTA, disodium EDTA. EDTA stands for ethylene diamine tetraacetate, that is in 0.1% concentration almost used, and benzoic acid, that is also used as preservative in different concentration, but mostly it is in the concentration that is 0.1%. That's all about the formulation of the pharmaceutical suspension. Along with that, viscosity promoters or viscosity builders are also used along with the suspending agents in order to make the suspending properties more, but the viscosity promoter concentration should be within the limit. If we use the concentration, more concentration is used, it will become more viscous and the suspension, dispersion and redispersion will be affected. Next is references. You can consult Blackman, that is already uploaded on the university portal, and you can consult over there the theory and practice of industrial pharmacy, 3rd edition, and the pages you should consult, that is from 488 to 490. Now a brief overview of this topic, that what we have studied. First we have discussed the definition and different examples of the pharmaceutical suspension, and the second we have classified pharmaceutical suspension on different bases, in which include general classification and classification of pharmaceutical suspension based on proportion of solid particles and based on electrokinetic nature of solid particles. Different classes are there. After that we have discussed in detail the pharmaceutical application of suspension. We have discussed 5 applications. And at the last one, that is the formulation of suspension, the various ingredients which are mandatory for the formulation of pharmaceutical suspension, active pharmaceutical ingredient along with the excipients. But remember that the active pharmaceutical ingredient, if it is one or more, it should be compatible with one another as well as with the excipients used in the formulation of the suspension. Wetting agents, suspending agents, flocculating agent in case of the flocculated system, viscosity promoters, if suspending agents are not enough to promote the viscosity, then viscosity builders or viscosity promoters are also added in the pharmaceutical formulation. Buffers to resist change in pH, and the optimal pH is necessary for the stability of formulation. Sweeteners are added, and different sweeteners are discussed in this discussion. Flavoring agent, in case of the sweetener are not enough to overcome the unpleasant taste or better taste of the drug, then flavoring agents are also added in the formulation. Coloring agent to make it identification purposes and to make it elegancy, increase the elegancy, to make it attractive, and preservatives are also added in the formulation, and the main focus of the preservative which will increase the shelf life of the formulation. If it is not added, then there are different types of the unstable conditions are there in the formulation. The the preservatives are added because there are several suspending agents, for example xanthan gum and different other gum which we are using in the preparation of the formulation, and the chances of microbial contamination are there, and which may lead to the loss of the suspending activity, which may lead toward the loss of the elegancy, and which may be lead toward the loss of the taste, loss of the texture of the formulation. And to overcome these unfavorable conditions and stability deterioration in the formulation, it is mandatory to add the preservative. But remember that preservative should be added within the limit. All the ingredients are added within the limit. Beyond that limit, they may cause toxicity, and they may not only cause toxicity but also the formulations are not stable if we use the quantity or concentration beyond that limit. And I have also told you about the reference, and that is the Lachman, the Theory and Practice of Industrial Pharmacy, 3rd edition, and the pages may vary in the any other edition of the Theory and Practice of Pharmacy, that is by Lachman Lieberman. Thank you all for your attention. We will discuss in case of any queries you have in the online class as per the timetable through the Google Meet. Thank you all for your attention.